radical candor. Given the events over the last few days, I think it's just extremely important to clarify why I'm here, why you're here, and why the panelists are here. And the best way to sum it up, I think, is the concept of radical candor. This is a book written by an ex-Apple, Google executive, and her name is Kim Scott, and she put this simple, basic principle together that if you really care about something, if you truly care about it, then you owe it 100% of the truth. No sugarcoating, no polite silence, but just raw, unfiltered, unapologetic truth. And that's what radical candor is. And so that's why I'm here, because I gave up my career in law to go and do this, a lucrative career, in exchange for the freedom to be able to express myself at my own expense of ridicule and whatnot, make crime illegal, come at me. But I just thought at the time that, over the last few years, there was something missing in Irish society, and it was intellectual honesty. And I think all of us here can see that. And I care deeply about Ireland, I just do. And I think all of us do here as well. And we've taken it for granted, I think a lot of people, that democracy can just run on autopilot. And that is just not the case. It takes high levels of participation. So Breaking Point, when I heard it was being set up to act as this forum for open conversation, I was like, yes, I will get behind this as much as I can and participate. So obviously it was the ultimate irony that our event, Is Ireland Safe, would be cancelled on campus in UCD under the grounds of safety. It's beyond ridiculous, in fact. And the accusations that came out from some of the journalists in UCD in the paper, some very inexperienced journalists, I'll give them that, and they really should not have pressed send on some of their articles today, labeling wild accusations at me, my fellow panelists, and you, the people that bought tickets for €5 to come. They're literally saying you're violent, a threat to peaceful society. We just can't let this slide, and I think it's important, that everyone has addressed this point, and we cannot have rule of the minority. And so, in this set of events, I think they've answered the question that we've laid out here: is Ireland safe? And the answer is Ireland is unsafe from the truth. But what else is Ireland unsafe from? Crime is the obvious one we're probably here to talk about. Woke ideology, far right, far left, tyranny, complacency, climate hysteria. The list goes on. But that's because safety isn't static. It's contextual. It's based on the situation at the time. It's temporal. Many people will say that because Ireland is a wealthy Western affluent country, that it's a safe country, and that's fair enough. A lot of people feel very safe. But some people over the last few years have noticed a rapid decline in their sense of safety. And it's that change that we need to focus on. If that was climate change, they'd be up in arms about it. But when it comes to things like safety, you have to be careful and tolerate polite society instead of embracing this concept of radical candor, candid conversations. Because true security, safety is true security, and it's the knowledge that the institutions that protect us now will protect us in the future. And right now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know how well these institutions are. So let's take them one by one. Let's start off with crime. We all see it, we can all feel it, in this part of town in particular. But official Ireland won't give us the truth. Unlike Denmark, Sweden, Ireland refuses to publish crime data based on nationality, ethnicity, and immigration status. Why? Because the truth offends their ideology. Statistics are racist, and this is nonsense. We just have to embrace the uncomfortable truths, or else we leave the ambiguous situation for people to assume, and that creates this notion of a far right who are acting in the dark. Our prisons are so overcrowded now. They're at 120% capacity. We have a record number of over 5,000 inmates at the moment, with about 400 sleeping on the floor. And last week, Minister for Justice, who everyone seems to think he's doing a very good job, announced some radical reforms. what are the radical reforms? You think it's to build some new prisons, but no, it's actually to empty them. This is serious. This was in the paper last week. So he says new rules which will allow criminals to do community service instead of custodial sentences for crimes that would carry punishment up to 2 years in prison. So that means repeat offenders, burglars, fraudsters, violent criminals can now walk free and just do a few hours of unpaid work every week. And I'm actually not sure if they can claim the dole at the same time. So I'm sure there's a way they can. And so, I was ridiculed for make crime illegal, but this is it. Commit crimes, don't go to prison, paint a wall. The institutions, again, I'm not confident they're performing at the best levels. We know that the guards are under huge strain. They've been asked to police an impossible task. They've taken heavy hands in different situations, but the morale in the guards is very low. Uptake of new entrants into the guards are very low. So you'd think that for the guards that they have, they would want to be putting them to the most efficient use possible. But it came out, I only discovered this a few weeks ago, that we have 586 Garda diversity officers who are assigned to investigate hate crimes and hate-related non-crime incidents.
Money well spent.
And last year, of all these types of incidents, there was 676 of these types of incidents. That means that there's one case per guard almost. And these guards do other things as well, to be fair, but this is their assignment as well. But when you contrast the fact that we've, meanwhile road policing has gone down 40% over the last 10 years. There used to be over 1,000 dedicated guards for road traffic, and now there's less than 600, about 500. So that's a 40% decrease. So is Ireland safe? I don't know, but Irish roads are definitely more unsafe than they were. So these institutions are creaking. Okay, so what else is Ireland potentially unsafe from? What about foreign influence and crime gangs? Last week, the mosque in Clonskee was closed down because of radical extremism and terrorist financing. There's almost been no public commentary on this. They were forced to report it because the sign was up on the gate. If that sign wasn't up on the gate, they probably wouldn't have reported it. But they had to report the fact that it was closed. But we were left in the dark really as to why it was closed. There was no public commentary. There was no, why has this not been picked up? And it wasn't closed by the Irish guards or the Irish authorities or the Irish government. We were bailed out here. It was Dubai that sent a convoy over to bail out the Irish people. There's a famous clip online of a Dubai foreign minister where he speaks in English. He says, I want to say this in English. If you haven't looked at this clip, you should watch it. He goes, you guys in Europe think you're being polite and embracing this. You don't know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with radicals. And so they sent these over and we were bailed out, luckily, because of them. And we're still left in the dark of what the future is going to be there. So what about the Black Axe gang? Has anyone heard of the Black Axe gang? Who are yes. They are a Nigerian organised crime gang who last week it was reported they have 1,600 active members in Ireland. They make more money than the Kinahans or any Irish drug cartel. They make hundreds of millions a year extorting money through different ways. I'm not sure exactly how they do it, but this is what's been reported. And I'm just saying, there's no public debate on this because, if you give out about the Black Axe gang, you're racist. Why are you giving out about them? I don't care if they're from Japan, if they're from Poland, wherever. There's a gang of 1,600 people making more money than the Kinahans. Can we not talk about it? And what are we doing? Are we waiting for the Nigerian government to send over a convoy and sort this one out for us? Genuinely, I'm not sure. So let's zoom out, okay? So why are we in this situation? Why is this happening? And I believe it's because of institutional capture, okay? A lot of our main institutions, NGOs, whatever you want to call, they've been captured. So I like to go further up the value chain here and realize that this is a top-down approach. And one of the ones I like to talk about the most is the Irish Penal Reform Trust. I'm not sure if anyone follows them too closely, but they're very efficient. In fairness, they're good at what they do because there's only 6 people employed by the Irish Penal Reform Trust. 5 liberal women, no diversity in this organisation. They, have no frontline experience. If you look at their history, they're a pass the parcel of one NGO to the other, Irish Civil Liberties, human rights, and into the Irish Penal Reform Trust. From the year 2009, the Irish Penal Reform Trust was funded heavily by Open Society, George Soros, Chuck Feeney, getting, that's, about £1 million a year. And their main goal is to prevent the construction of new prisons in Ireland. Like, that's the main goal. And the criminals are the victims for these guys. Okay? No, I'm not joking. And you go onto their website, there's so much detail on their website. Again, they're good at what they do for an extremely well-funded, tight-knit organisation. And they literally boast on their website, we were the ones that prevented the new prison in Thornton Hall. Like, that's their fame. And they think that, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So you're the cause of the prison overcrowding. They believe that more prisons create more prisoners and more criminals. And then I just, my argument back to that was, well, then more IPAS centres create more asylum seekers. We're not playing it on both sides. So these people are, very well funded. They're now, they now get all of their funding actually from the Irish government. The private philanthropy pulled out in about 2018. So basically, Irish taxpayers are now funding a foreign-influenced NGO whose stated mission is to reduce criminal sentencing in Ireland. These guys, I just beggars belief. Anytime there's talk about mandatory minimum sentencing or the construction of new prisons, they are the first ones that will be on RTE, on News Talk, or whatever. And they're just a bunch of people in a room, 5 people in a room with no frontline experience, who don't have to put up with living in conditions where criminals are let back out, repeat offenders, suspended sentences. So, look, we can keep going through all these institutions, from UCD, the Gardaí, the Irish Penal Reform Trust, but they're all, the team is clear, they're being governed by ideology and not by facts, not by radical candor. So we have to ask we can't ask the basic questions, we can't publish basic data, we can't even hold a debate in the university that we want without censorship. There's an old saying, you can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And that is where we are. We are now dealing with the consequences of our institutions ignoring the reality. So it is time for radical candor. Take back the institutions that we built before they destroy the country we love.